Good morning, everybody. This is Grace, the Grasshopper, and I'm here as always with Skylar, the Guru, and welcome to Digital Duality. This week, we're going to be talking about psychology, which is personally one of my favorite things to talk about. And we're going to talk about how it influences digital marketing. So we're super excited to start with y'all today. So good morning, Skylar.
Good morning. How you doing this morning, Grace?
You know, I went to the gym this morning and I am feeling a little like a noodle. So,
Al dente or some other type of noodle?
I would say, like, you know, with spaghetti, you're supposed to throw it against the wall and it like sticks. I'm like a cooked spaghetti. So,
well, at least you're cooked and you're not brittle and ready to break off. So we appreciate that
is
about
good.
you.
Yes, I would agree with that. So let's talk about psychology. What do you think of with psychology and SEO?
I think digital marketing, SEO, and the facets of psychology are they're definitely a rabbit hole, and we could talk about this for days and days at a time. But effectively, being great in terms of psychology and SEO and digital marketing all go hand in hand, because not only are you creating a website or are you creating some sort of platform for people to come to, you're usually trying to get them to take a action using persuasive language, persuasive pictures, persuasive modeling, or so forth and so on. But ultimately, I think that it's important to understand the facets of psychology. So I'm actually super amped about this particular episode, just because it's something that's overlooked, to be honest.
I think so too. I think that there are, you know, a lot of things that we don't necessarily attribute to psychology that are definitely things that we should really think about in the realm of digital marketing. And I guess the evolution of user behavior in general, just from, I guess, me as a, you know, a Gen Z / millennial, and you as an elder millennial, as one of my favorite comedians, Eliza Schelzinger, likes to say, the elder millennial, and how it's changed. I mean, I feel like at the beginning, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, it was more about the product versus the people who are promoting your product. Am I on base with that, or is that something that I'm not quite?
I would say that it really depends on the company in which we're talking about, or the brand or the product. A lot of, you know, products or brands going back in time have always put a consumer-centric focus. But generally speaking, when the internet first came about or things came digital, people were trying to sell things, you know, through the use of pop-ups or through very spammy verbiage. Things of that nature, right? So this was before the boom of social media, and people could communicate about how, you know, spammy things were in general. So everybody just thought collectively that this is how marketing was done on the internet. And it has changed over time to where in your generation, I feel like, you know, Gen Z wants to feel like there's a connection to the company.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just the product, right?
Yeah.
You want to know that the company stands for what you stand for. You want to know that they're not promoting any shisty behaviors, and they're super transparent.
Yes.
Whereas before, in my generations and older generations, we just trusted everyone, I guess. Yeah.
I'm thinking about what you said about the doing good as a company, and I'm thinking of Tom's. Like, Tom's has this program where if you buy a pair of their shoes, they'll send a pair of their shoes to a third world country so that people who don't have shoes. And you feel good about helping kids, even if you do other things, you give to charities, you do feed my starving children. I mean, I always feel like I'm not doing enough. And so that is something I can do in my daily life where I get something, they get something, the world benefits.
I think that's a double-edged sword from my perspective, and it's simply because you have to be able to cut through which companies are using this marketing tactic as a tool of manipulation.
Yeah, that's true.
And which companies aren't. Because in the case of Tom's, like, I've seen a lot of videos with the founder, and he seems very passionate about what he does. So I got the sense that he really cares about what he's striving for and what he's providing back to the world. But there are other brands and companies, and I don't want to say names or throw anybody under the bus, but it seems like they're using these tactics just as a form and a tool of manipulation to get people to continuously buy their stuff.
No,
would you agree with that? Or
I would. I think there are some that are definitely not using it for the right reasons. And I think that, I guess we're better about finding those things. I feel like there's a lot of memes on the internet about how girls are low-key FBI agents and how we can there's somebody we meet at a bar and we can find all of their Instagram, their LinkedIn, their all this stuff. And I feel like with companies, if they aren't doing something right or they are doing something shady, we're going to call them out on it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, what I kind of hinted on with social media is if a company is not doing something right or they're doing an unscrupulous activity, even all these foundations that have came to light recently, right? Or the people that you donate to, there's been a lot of attention surrounding this, and it's because things are becoming more and more transparent as time goes on.
Yes.
People are getting access to financial statements from the past, all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean,
those are technically free or whatever. They're everyone can see them.
Right.
It's public information. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. It's public information, but nobody really looked at it before, I don't think. Or nobody
it's public information, but it wasn't as easily accessible.
That's true. Yeah.
You had to go down to a library and file a petition for public records. Whereas now it's all, online or somebody already has access to it and they share it with the world. So it's much easier to find how transparent and how forthcoming and how honest the company actually is, which is great, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. So you put in our thing here, Hotmail PS I love you. Now I'm going to tell you, my first email was a Yahoo. I never had Hotmail. I had Yahoo and then I went straight to Google. So you're going to have to tell me about this PS I love you campaign that you were wanting to talk about today.
Well, I think it was interesting because in the early days of digital marketing, people were trying to use emotive content or, even back to talking about Toms, but a way to pull out the emotional intensity that somebody feels inside. So it was cool because Hotmail's PS I love you campaign is they would just add PS I love you at the end of every Hotmail line.
I love that.
Yeah. And so that kind of, it circulated with that. And then more and more people got Hotmail. Eventually they took it out of there, obviously, and Hotmail kind of dwindled off. But I think it was just, interesting to think about how, back in the day you would use emotive content
versus emojis.
Because those didn't exist yet, right?
Yes.
So I thought it was just interesting to bring up how far it's came. Now you would use an emoji in an email. And that's actually used by, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's used by your generation to express emotive content.
Yes. I wouldn't say in an email.
Not a professional email anyways,
no,
right?
Not a professional email, but if it was an email to a family friend or somebody, you'd put in an emoji. There has been some debate about emojis that are used by certain generations. So for example, your generation will use certain emojis, which to us Gen Zs are an ick, but I am kind of both generations. So I don't really have a really strong stance on it, but I use emojis in every text that I send. Every single one.
It's interesting. If we talk about digital marketing, I can actually recall professional emails using emojis, and I can recall GMBs, Google My Businesses, that use emojis when it's applicable to the niche that the business category is in. Like if it's a company that does, what is it called? Water pressure,
pressure washing.
Pressure washing. They'll put a little water emoji after their.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And their social media posts too. We used to do that for a couple of our clients. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do find emojis working themselves in terms of emotive content.
And I think that makes it relatable too.
It does. And it also draws attention to it because people aren't used to seeing it yet.
Yeah. No, I agree. Some other things that I think about when I think about companies and psychology, I think about Well, you in particular with Apple products, you always want the newest one, right? You always wait, you get the newest one no matter how long you had the last one
In
for.
my defense, though, I have to get the newest one because I own a digital marketing company, and I have to see how.
Okay, you have to test it out.
Right.
But having that anticipation, that curiosity, that want, creating that want, is something that companies do. And then me, for like my example would be Duolingo, because I'm like trying to brush up my French, because when I went to France, I found out I completely lost my French. So having that little Duolingo guy being like, hey, you haven't practiced today, that, consistency of it.
Yeah.
It actually helps. It helps remind me like to take like 5 minutes and do like a quick lesson. So that's,
You know what else it does? It increases your screen time.
I didn't even think about that.
It increases your screen time. It allows them to push more ads if you have a specific version of it. It allows other things in terms of marketing, digital marketing as a whole,
come through. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And now they have access to your phone. So this is interesting to think about. What does Duolingo have access to in terms of your phone that they're sharing with other partner companies that are paying them for information about Grace Edwards?
Even though you ask them not to track, they're still tracking. Like that's still going to be happening.
I've developed multiple apps, and we've tracked so much information on them, even down to.
I don't even know honestly what could be tracked. They probably have my like voice in a clip or something. They probably could like use AI and like create like.
Oh yeah.
There's so much they probably have.
And I think this is where it goes back to, a company's authenticity and what their purpose is and their goal. Because if they're using all that information, how are they really using it? And are they reselling it? How do you know? So it's very hard to kind of cut through the noise in terms of that aspect.
And then adding on to the trustworthiness of the company, that emotional engagement that they have with their clients. I mean, having the data that they're collecting, what are they going to do with it in order to get that emotional response from their people who download their app or buy clothes from them, or the ethos of it, well, we talked about this earlier. The logos is the logic, the pathos is the emotion, and then the ethos is the trust.
Right.
So the trust you have in the company, does it make logical sense, and do you have an emotional response to it?
And I think that it's interesting because a lot of companies are, and you could probably attest to this more and more over time, is they're using storytelling because it's so powerful in visual content, and it drives the emotional.
That I know that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's whole books written on it, right?
There's books in general. I mean, if I read a story to my students and I was just reading it in a normal voice, it wouldn't be as interesting as if I read it with voices of the characters. And if you
100%.
think about it in terms of digital marketing, you need to give voices to your characters.
I mean, yeah, no, 100%. Obviously, it's not going to be as animated. Animated. It's not going to be as animated as when you're in a classroom with kids, but you do want to give, voices to your characters. And this goes back to creating even a consumer avatar. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but the consumer avatars? No.
Is that like what I did on Yahoo when I made my little avatar for myself, or on my Bitmoji? Is that what that is?
No. So a consumer avatar is you create a persona in your head that is your most ideal client.
Okay.
You give them a name, you give them a voice, a character voice, more or less. You give them a passion, reasons to purchase from you, and you try and use this avatar that you create to drive your entire brand, your product, whatever you're selling around, because that's your ideal client.
Okay.
So
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, no, a lot of people haven't. So I think it's important to touch base on as we talk about, characters and the evolution of emotion, because that's what companies are doing. They're trying to ideally understand who their prime candidate is for a purchase and a sale. And using storytelling as the driving force, right? Because a lot of people can empathize as their character in the world with the story that you're telling. If they can empathize with it, you're going to get more sales. You're going to get more conversions. You're going to get more emotive response.
Yeah.
So, even research from the Institute of, Neurological Studies, they indicated that emotionally charged content is twice as likely to be remembered.
Because it it goes on your heartstrings, right? It creates some sort of feeling, and then that feeling will stick with you.
Oh,
and if you buy that product, you're going to feel good about it because you know that it's
right,
whatever, like it's relatable or.
Well, the emotional connection is what, the company is looking for, and it increases brand loyalty by, 3 times. So when we talk about, when we talk about Apple, if we do a recall and talk about Apple, they're trying to create an emotional connection with you in many different ways. They share stories of how people using Apple products have changed their lives.
Yeah.
They did anecdotal stories, they actually have them at their keynotes now.
Like training, like how the training from, have gotten people jobs or have gotten them, from really hard situations. And they're able to, have a good life now because of it.
Oh, 100%. And it really just fosters, a lot of trust in the company, I think. As long as the company is doing what they say they're doing. And again, it just goes back to transparency. So,
So speaking of trust, there's something that I saw, which was the EAT framework. Could you explain that?
So the EAT framework is a framework created in partnership by, the thought in search engine optimization that you're effectively looking for expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness inside of a website to give not only search engines the impression, but also humans the impression that you are an expert in your field, that you do have authority, and that you are trustworthy. Think about this for a second. If you go to a medical website and you're reading about information and you're about to take the information and the advice of a medical website, do you want information just written by anybody without authority or trustworthiness?
No, I don't think so.
No, you wouldn't. You right? If you found out that this medical website was written by, a content writer or somebody who had no background in medical, how trustworthy is that? Yeah, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it.
100%. Has there been any, times where you've been misled online by any chance? Any personal anecdotes you have?
I mean, I don't think there's anything specific. I guess I don't, like, I've heard of things. Like I've heard of, the scams that they try to get old people with, where they like send them money and stuff. And the princes and from whatever country are like, they need your money, they need your investment. I mean, I probably have at some point and just didn't know it and haven't realized it yet. But I mean, I've definitely heard about it and seen it in news and just general, on social media, honestly. Like I've seen it like, oh, this happened.
Well, I'll give you this one.
Okay.
It happens a lot to our clients, actually, more than you would think. And they actually bring it up sometimes. And you might recall a situation in which they did. So a lot of times companies will send out a letter, or they'll call and they'll say, hey, to keep your GMB verified on Google, we need you to pay this every month. Yeah, that just happened recently to a client.
It did. It happened to like 3 or 4 clients.
Yeah. So that's, one time that,
it's a huge one.
Yeah. And that happens all the time. That's one time I can think about where somebody was, misled online, and it was a client. And so this is interesting. Before I got into digital marketing and SEO, I thought reviews on Amazon were real.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were paid for. I didn't know they were sponsored. I didn't know that thousands of reviews they had might have been purchased from third-party companies around the world with review farms. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And then when I found that out, I was like, wow, I feel like I've been misled.
But they have done things to kind of mitigate that now. Like they'll have people who are like dedicated, like product people who will do like the unboxing videos,
Right.
But I knew that there couldn't possibly be 14,000 reviews on one product. Like no one is going to take the time to do that, let alone 14,000 people or 100,000 people. It's just, it's not like, I have been asked for reviews And I usually do if it's like a business, like a small business, like a local small business, I definitely will. But if it's a big corporation like Amazon, I'm not going to give them extra time.
You know what's horrible too is going back to reviews. A lot of our clients in the past have purchased reviews from review farms,
Mm-hmm.
and it's horrible because it also becomes a scam. So let's say that you run into somebody in a Facebook group like mine,
Mm-hmm.
Google SEO Mastermind,
Mm-hmm.
and they say, "Hey, we'll get you 1,000 reviews in the next 30 days." So you begin doing
Where
business
are
with
those
them.
coming from, though?
Well, even beyond that. So check this out. So say you get the reviews, say they look above reproach.
Mm-hmm.
They have, reviews that are left in the past. They use very good verbiage and detailed accounts of, the scenario for the review. But
Mm-hmm.
what ends up happening is when the business owner says, "Hey, I'm going to stop paying for these reviews," the company comes back and says, "If you stop paying for these, I'm going to go leave the same amount of negative reviews on your business profile." Yeah, that happens. So now you have this company in another country blackmailing you for reviews.
Who's basically extorting you.
Right. They're extorting you, and there's no legal ramifications because, if they're in a
If you
different
paid for
country,
it.
right, and they're just in a different country, what are you going
Mm-hmm.
to do? You
Yeah.
can't take legal action
That's
against
crazy.
them.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot. That actually happened to a client of ours, and I empathized with them because a lot of
Yeah.
people get caught up in this, but at the same time, you got to be super
You gotta be
credible
smart.
in what you're doing,
Yeah.
and smart and intelligent about it, and it even goes back to, this is kind of where, building trust and backlinks comes from.
Mm-hmm.
um, Rather than just buying any backlink, which we discussed in the last episode. You want to buy backlinks that have this EAT that you talked about, the expertise, the authoritativeness, and the trustworthiness.
Mm-hmm.
If you're buying a backlink from a random website that has no authority, no trustworthiness, and no
It's not really going to
expertise,
do anything.
no, it's not. It's not going to transfer the right link equity to your website and digital property.
Mhm. Yeah. And we, with our clients right now, we really are focusing on quality,
Yeah.
high quality, and things that are local, because
Right.
those are things that not everyone can get, and that will help build that authority score, right? Having those local teams or local chambers of commerce or something that not everyone else can get.
I think it's hard simply for the fact, and we deal with this with our clients,
Mm-hmm.
empathetically, to get out into the community and create the network connections that are required to get these types of backlinks.
Yeah, because they're either a one person,
Right.
or they have a few people, or they're still out in the field and they don't
Right.
have time and they're exhausted from working.
And not only that, but this is a very nebulous understanding of digital marketing, a nebulous area, I should say.
Mhm.
What does constitute a good backlink?
Yeah.
For local websites, in my opinion, it's your local news station, it's your local blog. If
Mhm.
you're a restaurant in the area, you want to get blogged about from your local foodie blog.
Mhm.
That's huge, right?
I would love to do that for a living if I
Oh,
didn't do this. I would just go eat food all day long.
take your camera, walk into a restaurant, sit down, eat, blog about it.
Do you remember that South Park episode where they were the Yelp reviewers?
I wasn't a huge South Park.
Okay, well, there was a
to be
whole
honest.
episode about them being Yelp reviewers, and then in the beginning, it was like a big deal, and they're like, "Oh my god, let me get you the best table," and at the end, they're
Yeah.
like, "Get out of my restaurant." So, it'll definitely be like I'd have to have some
Right.
panache as a foodie, but I am definitely a foodie, and I love trying new places.
Yeah,
But
no, 100%.
speaking of the digital trust, in my classes, actually in my program, we were talking about color last semester, about how colors can build trust with companies.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of clients who have recently rebranded into more trusting colors.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Yes. So the trend right now is going into teal colors, blue,
Mhm.
greens.
Mhm.
Those are highly trusted colors. I mean, that's why Facebook uses blue.
Mhm.
Facebook in and that of itself is not a trustworthy company, in my opinion. I mean,
well,
we all use Facebook and love Facebook,
Mhm.
but in terms of their fact checkers, and I mean, we could go down a whole rabbit
we
hole.
could go
but-
down a rabbit hole. Yes.
Yeah, it's a whole rabbit hole. But that's
Yes.
why they started out using blues, because they wanted to elicit the trust of
Mhm.
college students when
Mhm.
they first came out to use their platform.
So I have some colors and I did some research on like 3 words that represent that color. And I wanted to go through them and see if you agree or you disagree. Does that
Okay,
sound good?
yeah,
Okay.
sure,
So
absolutely.
with blue, we kind of talked about that trust, loyalty, competence. So
Yeah,
yes. Okay.
yes.
Green, healing, freshness, quality. Would you agree?
100% just because it resonates with nature, right? Green is
Yeah.
in the trees, green
Hmm.
is in the forest. So yes, 100%.
And I know you're a big forest guy. You love the
Big forest
trees.
guy. Love the forest.
Red is excitement, strength, and energy.
Yes, and passion. I would say passion too.
Passion. Okay.
Yes.
Also, I heard that if you paint your kitchen red, it makes you hungrier. Did you know that?
Probably mad and hungry at the same time. So you're
Yeah,
there just
like hangry.
I need to eat and cook.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what happens right there.
100%.
Um, yellow is creativity, happiness, and warmth.
Yes, because our understanding of the sun, we assign those words
The
to
warmth.
the warmth. Yep, 100%.
And when it's sunny out, you're happier.
Yeah, happier, 100%.
Except when it's sunny for 100 or for 355 days.
When it's sunnier in Arizona, we are not happier.
No, we are not. No, we are not. All right. Pink is compassion, sincerity, and sophistication.
Pink. Yes, I would say so.
Okay. White is clean, simple, sophisticated.
Yes, that's why we use a lot of white space on our designs with carpet cleaners because it communicates clean, simple, so forth and so on.
Okay. Brown is rugged, dependable, and trustworthy. I think of
Yes.
like hiker boots.
I would also say it kind of goes back into green. Green and brown go really good together because they're earth tones.
Earth tones, yeah.
So I would say they kind of communicate some of the same things depending on what the brand is.
Okay. Black is formality, security, and drama.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Orange is confidence, success, and loyalty.
I'm trying to think of an orange logo or brand.
Yeah. Well, I think, one of our clients is teal and orange.
Yeah, so the teal goes with the trust, loyalty, competence, kind of a mix of green, so freshness. Orange, confidence, success, loyalty. I could kind of see that. I'm over here trying to think of an orange brand, and I just can't pull one out of my head.
There's the George Brazil guys, the Rooters.
Oh yeah.
They're white and orange.
White and orange. I think that's a good color combination. Yeah.
And then purple is luxury, royalty, and ambition.
100%. That goes back to, monarchs, kings, and queens, where purple was used for luxury, royalty, and ambition.
Yeah. So using those colors for certain things will help, engage your audience more. But also, let's talk about like images. If you have an image that is a real person and a real story, do you know like how much of an impact that would have on the community if it was a local person with their picture like, hey, this happened because of these guys? What do you think?
Then we can, if we dial it back, we can start incorporating a bunch of things that we've talked about today. If you use somebody in the community, you can create a story. Right? If you use a large image of them smiling, you have emotive content, especially if you use a picture of them with kids or animals.
Oh, animals. Oh my God.
Yes.
Animals.
Yes. Right. And not only that,
anytime I see an animal, I'm just like,
you just melt. You're like, I'm using your service right now today.
It's true.
No, 100%.
But only dogs.
Right.
Only dogs.
And then if they're a prominent figure in the community that people associate with good acts, you get that trustworthiness, which is insane. So if you have a combination of all those things together, you're just going to increase any type of conversion rate that you have on your website, 2, 3, 4 times because of all these psychological components that you've pieced together.
Yeah.
100%, which is just amazing to me how strong psychology of the human mind is.
Yes. And the psychology of different generations too.
That reminds me.
Yes.
That reminds me though. I wanted to go back a second. Because there was something that we missed that I really wanted to talk about.
Okay.
And it's kind of actionable. I don't know if you've ever Googled your name or not, but if you Google my name and you look under images, you'll see under images that my name is associated with search engine optimization.
Okay.
So in terms of search engine optimization, when you're thinking about trustworthiness, if you can get yourself to a point where you're writing content and you're associated with different keywords in search engines, you build trust into your author, what is called an author score. You build trust into who you are as a digital personality online, and then anything you write about naturally ranks a little bit higher than when your name is not associated with it.
Okay.
Which is fascinating to me that Google has some sort of algorithm to understand who you are as a person or an avatar, right? Because you're an avatar to them. And when you write about certain things, if Google finds you knowledgeable in the subjects, they're going to automatically rank you higher. So are you familiar with Jordan Pierce by any chance, or Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan. I listen to him every week. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I love Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So if Joe Rogan wrote about something having to do with fitness, it, in theory, it would automatically rank higher because Joe Rogan is known for his. He's known for his MMA and all kinds of different fitness qualifications, right?
Yes.
Same for medical, same for digital marketing. So I just wanted to touch base on that and how important it is to build your author score now inside of search engines, because there seems to be a very apparent link between what you do and what you write about and how it ranks on Google.
Yeah. And I think that if I searched my name on Google right now, nothing would come up.
We could change that for you. That's what we do here at the company. What do you want to come up for?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. I really don't have a.
How about I got a good suggestion. You ready?
Okay. Grace Edwards. Yes, go ahead.
Grace Edwards. Professional grass blade counter.
Dude, again? Again?
Well, you are the grasshopper.
Yes, but I don't need to count grass blades. I'd rather be like a powerful woman in business. Like that would be.
What if your powerful business is
not grass blade counting? Sorry, no.
I'm going to sell you on this over the course of the next 30 or 40 episodes. I'm selling you on this.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't. Coco would do it. My dog would do it. She loves grass. She'll roll in it all day long. She'll roll in it all day long.
You guys got to come up with some sort of signal then where she counts a grass blade and you tally it.
Okay.
And then we're good to go.
I mean, it could happen.
We'll market it. You don't think I can sell professional grass blade
I
counter?
know you definitely could, but I don't think that's what I want to be known for.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. You won't have any fear of missing out if you don't do
this? I will have JOMO. So there's something called FOMO, as many of you may know, which is the fear of missing out. As I've gotten into my late 20s now, is JOMO, the joy of missing out. I don't have to be involved in everything and I'll still be okay. But FOMO is a real thing and I do experience it. I do have to say, I mean, I feel like social media has kind of bumped FOMO into the stratosphere. It really has just taken everybody, because if you're not doing something all the time and you're not posting about it, you have no life.
I think, how do you think that relates back to marketing? Do you think it's important to put FOMO in marketing campaigns? Do you think companies utilize that?
I think they utilize it, but I also don't know if it's healthy to do it.
You don't know if it's healthy. What if it's, okay, so hear me out. What if it's for a greater cause? Like, so we have, a client in the medical industry, CPR. What if they create FOMO, fear of missing out on how to perform CPR
in the event to get your certification?
Well, no. In the event that your loved one randomly falls over and you can save their life. I feel like that's a very crucial.
Again, the pathos, the emotion of it, the logic of it. Right. That is something that I think would be used for. But if you're using it for something like, going to the Bahamas, like.
So what you're saying is it's about the intention of the use.
Yes.
Because arguably saving a loved one's life is very important to people, and just in general, you want to help save people's lives.
Yeah.
Well, most people do. And then you have, the Bahamas trip where agencies are using fear of missing out to, generate sales.
Yeah.
But arguably, it puts money back into the economy, not only in the tourist destination, but in the domestic sense as well.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I just think people have to be intentional about how they use it.
No, I agree with that. I think FOMO is a very tricky one, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that, like you said, with the introduction of social media, um, I see on posts all the time where people will post, "Hey, I traveled to Paris. Hey, I traveled to
Mm-hmm.
Ireland," and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I want to go there."
Mm-hmm.
So the fear of missing out is incredibly strong, and I think it goes back to kind of our roots of being in a civilization where we want to be interconnected, right?
But also, if you think about it, what if you can't do it?
Like
What does
because
that
of
because of
financial.
financial or you've got stuff going on at work or family obligations? What if you can't do it and then that's psychologically negative for you because you feel like a failure because everybody else on social media is doing it?
What if there was like a double message, right? Like a company used FOMO. Hey, we'd love to have you here, but it's okay if you can't be.
I don't know if that would do anything for me.
Don't want to do anything for you.
I think I'd still feel like absolute booty.
You'd feel like absolute. Would it be though because of your own? I mean, this is going kind of deep down into psychology, but
Mm-hmm.
would it be because of your own feelings about how you're unable to do something, or is it because of the company?
I think it's because of. So I'm thinking about buying a new car right now, right?
Sure. Okay.
And I have a certain amount for cash down. I'm probably
Hmm.
going to trade in my car.
Right.
I have some of it, but I'm
Okay.
not just going to go out and buy it because of a really good sale, because of FOMO from an advertisement I see from the car company that I want the car from.
Okay.
Because I know that I'm not going to be able to financially do it
And how does
after I
that
buy it.
relate back to how? So is it making you feel worse when you see these ads because you can't
Yes,
financially
because I
do it?
want the car.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
want
that
the
makes
car, and it makes me feel like I'm not
good
doing
enough.
enough.
Good enough. Worthy enough.
Yeah. But then again, millennials are not millennials, sorry. Millennials and Gen Z, both of us are the least paid by um, cost of living in the history of the world. So, I mean, stuff out there.
That's a hard one, because people in our generation are not only dealing. I would say we have the highest wages in the history of the
Oh, yeah.
workforce,
But we
but
can't buy
the
anything with them.
lowest. Well, not only is it the highest wages, but it's the highest influx in economic increases.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking going back to cars are more expensive, houses are more expensive. So I think that this fear of missing out can definitely be a negative thing if not used appropriately.
Yeah. It can really degrade someone's or a lot of people's self esteem, confidence. You have to be really careful, I think. And that's
No,
that fine line, that transparency, that trust that we're building with those companies that we talked about earlier. I
no,
mean, you
I
have
think you
to,
bring up a great point that I've never really thought about before. When I think of FOMO in terms of marketing, I know that it works, but you never really think about the negative impacts of how it might also
because you're making
work
so much
against you.
money from it working, you don't
Right.
think about how it's not working for other people.
Right, right. It's kind of like when we tell our clients, they're like, "Hey, I have, so many customers." And my first thought is, what about all the customers you didn't get?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they use you?
Mm-hmm.
And as a business owner, that's my first thought is like, am I not sending the right message to people?
Mm-hmm.
Would I be creating FOMO in a way that's more negative than positive?
Mm-hmm.
So very interesting things to think about. And I appreciate you bringing it up because I think it expands the perspective of these different marketing practices.
Mm-hmm. I would
So
agree. Yeah.
yeah, no, but when used correctly, and you use, emotional engagement, you use storytelling, you use these different EAT across your website. I
Mhm.
think that everything together combined creates a culmination of a great marketing experience, or like you said, when done correctly.
And I also think that, when I know that the employees are treated well, I know they're taken care of. I know that they're working, looking out for them.
You saw my face on Facebook this or my
I
post on
did.
Facebook this week?
Yes, I did. I saw about would you rather have performance based or just like a higher starting?
Yeah. As Gen Z, what do you think about that? I'd love to hear your input.
I feel like performance-based is biased.
To what or who?
For people like me who might not have as much experience, who are trying really hard, but it might not look like we're trying that hard because we're not getting as much done because we don't know everything we're supposed to, like the efficiency of the process, I guess.
Right.
And so if I saw a really high starting salary, I'd be like, is this too good to be true? Like, is this actually happening? Like, could they really hire me for this much? And then, you might be intimidated by it. But if you put yourself out there and you apply and you get the job, I'd rather have the higher starting. But with that higher starting, even I guess in general, I would like I've had with you guys, training, ideas on how to do things, how to make things better, your processes, so that I can make it in my own, because the role that I'm in right now is a new one for you guys. It's something that you haven't really done before. And so having kind of my own, trying to find my own way in it, but also using the processes you have for the other teams, for like the text marketing team, for the email team, for the graphics team, for the, the social media team, their processes going and fitting with my new ones that I'm creating. I think that if your company cares about you and your company invests in you, you're going to perform better.
So then we're linking the idea of base pay salary at a good amount so that you can live to the idea that your company actually cares about you.
And they're investing in you.
And they're investing in you.
They want to, I want to know that my company is investing in me, even if I might not be with them for my whole career.
Right.
I want to feel like I am invested in and I am heard. So like if I bring something up, or like in our company, if I bring something up, you guys are like, okay, let me think about this, or we'll talk about it. I think, but that might be just because of our size of our company too. I mean, we have such a small team that you're able to do that, which in big corporations, you're not always able to. But being heard and people actually listening, not just hearing you, but listening to you and understanding what you're saying. That is something I think we've lost, or we need to work harder on.
I think we need to work hard to get back to it. And I think a lot of the problem arises. Companies put profit above their people, above their clients.
Yeah.
And I understand that to some degree. I had a conversation in an inbox with somebody about this post I made on Facebook. And they were like, I would love to pay my people a higher base salary, but my profit margins are only 12%. Where do you, and they were genuinely asking, they said, in your expert opinion, where can I pull the extra money from? Because my profit margin is only 12%. Now, listen, at our company, we have a much higher profit margin than 12%. So it kind of changed my perspective. It's like, where would you pull that money from? And I think that it goes back to the fact that I couldn't ethically and personally open a company where I had a profit margin that was so low that I was unable to pay people a higher amount. Now that's a personal thought process and a personal choice. But I do want to, create a company that treats you guys well and treats our clients well. Right.
Because when you treat us well, we treat them well. And they treat their customers well. It's like a big snowball effect. It's a chain.
It's a whole chain. Yeah. It's a whole snowball effect. And so, there was a lot of business owners on this post that I created who are like, no, performance-based pay is the way to go, because then you're getting your work out of your employee. And to me, that's a flawed mindset. Like I want to pay my people so well that they're just comfortable with their living situation and they have their own innate want to create loyalty to my company because that's what they want to do. I think because I force them to do it.
I agree with you. And I think that performance-based pay is not very smart. I think there is a place for performance assessments and peer reviews and stuff. Like 100%. That's not something that should go away, but I don't think your pay should be based on that.
No. And it's hard because when the economy drops, or there's outside influential factors. Like I used to have a job selling vacuums back in the day, Kirby vacuums. And one week I'd make, $2,000 selling a bunch of vacuums. And then the next week it was people's bi-weekly pay period and no one bought a vacuum from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognized this trend after 2 or 3 months. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is horrible because I'm commission based only.
Mm-hmm.
It's pay per performance. When somebody doesn't have the money because they're on a bi-weekly pay schedule, they're not buying from me. And then I have no money.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an outside influential factor that seemed incredibly unfair to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of that anecdote you had told me a while ago about how when you started the company, you had sold your cars and you bought yourself. Do you want to tell that one?
Yeah. So when me and Victoria started this company, I sold my sports car. I downsized into a studio apartment for less than $500 per month. It was a horrible apartment,
which is a steal now.
Now it'd be a steal. This was pre-COVID. So things were a little cheaper. And then I hired our first employee at a higher salary than I was making. And it's because I knew that by investing in the people around me, like you said, that in the end, I would create higher dividends, not just for myself, but for everybody at the company.
Everyone would benefit.
Everyone would benefit. And I think that a lot of business owners are short-sighted in this aspect. And I get it, right? If you build your life, you have kids, you have a house around a certain income that you expect, opening up a business, your first priority is, hey, I have to provide for my family. I have to meet my bills.
Yeah, which is understandable. Like I totally get that.
No, I totally get that. But to me, that's a flawed mindset. If you're opening up a business, it's because you're providing a solution for your clients and you're providing economic return and flow back into the economy to the people that are working for you. If those are your first two priorities, your business is almost guaranteed to be successful because you're not working for yourself. You're working for the purposes of your clients and the people who work for you. But the thinking in America in a capitalistic society is just completely backwards, in my opinion. So, and I know that's such a strong statement to make, but I just have these really, really strong views about how this works. And a lot of people disagree with me, and that's fine. I love disagreements, but that's just how I view it.
Yeah. And I think that, if you are starting a business, you do have to have some stake in it to begin with. You have to be able, I guess this might just be me. It might just be how I was raised by, two veterans. Like if you're going to open a business and you're going to do something, you should have an emergency fund. You should have some sort of backup so that if it doesn't work in the first few months, you are still going to be able to make all your bills. You're still going to be able to, do the things that you need to do so that while your business is getting rolling, you will be okay.
Yes and no. I think it depends.
Well, I mean, and cutting out like the extras that you absolutely don't need. I forgot that part in. But I also think that unless you're in a really bad like situation with like the business that you're in, like I've been in hostile work environments. Like I get it.
Right.
But you have to have some sort of safety net.
I think that's important to have a safety net, but I will tell you that if I had had a safety net, I would not have made it work.
Because the struggle.
For me, it was do or die. Like you're either going to do this and make this work. Nothing is going to become of it. And at that point, it eliminated the option of not making it work. Like it had to work no matter what. Okay. But I do think that in a idealistic, perfect world, you would have some sort of savings. And unfortunately, it does take longer than a few months to be successful in a business for most businesses. Well, yeah. If you're a carpet cleaner, let's say you do 25 jobs per month. As time goes on, you're building your client and your consumer base, and hopefully, the lifetime customer value cycle repeats every 6 months. But by the 6th month, you only have 300 clients that you've serviced totaled, or you've serviced as a total, excuse me.
Yes.
And then you would go back 6 months and you would only have 25 repeat customers. So this could take years and years and years to build.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why I empathize so much with our carpet cleaning clients, because the progression of creating a very profitable business in some niches takes a very long time.
Yeah.
For us, it's nice because we're in the business of doing business with everybody.
That's true.
Right?
That's
right.
True.
We do business with everything from, medical to plumbing to whatever, lawyers. It doesn't matter. We white label for some companies. So we're in literally the business of doing business with everybody. But if you're not in the business of doing business with everybody, it's going to be
You have a very
lot harder.
specific
Right.
thing that you do.
Very specific avatar.
Yes, there we go. Yes, the avatar. Yes.
The avatar. Yes.
Okay. So. That's interesting. I just didn't think about it from that side because I don't have that experience.
Right.
I'm just thinking of it as like when I quit my job as a teacher, I didn't have as much of a safety net as I thought I did.
Right.
And so that was really stressful.
Right.
But that also was my biggest motivator to find something. And I guess that's how I was like, okay, I'll give Service Lifter a try. Like I'll see, we'll do a trial. We'll see if it works, see if we like it.
I think that when you're in positions like that, your number one concern is yourself. You want to make sure that you're okay, because if you're not okay, how is anybody else supposed to be okay? So I completely empathize with what you're saying. The difference is if you choose to go into business, you need to remember that you don't come first.
Yeah.
And that's hard for a lot of people. That
is such a hard lesson.
And it was hard for me too. When I first went into business, I was like, oh, it's all about my profitability. What am I getting away from this? And I was like, no, this is a horrible mindset. This is not going to work.
Yeah. It's about who you invest in.
Right. Who you invest in your employees. And for me, that's a high base salary, in my opinion. And how are you helping your clients? Because when you help your clients, they help their clients and they help their families. So yeah, just a completely different perspective, but it takes these conversations to understand the difference between, what an internal need is versus going into business and now you're serving other people. Your first priority should be servitude. So.
And we love to hear from, our audience from you guys, from our audience about, what your thoughts are on this. Cause I think this is a discussion we need to have. I think this is something that big corporate America needs to hear. I think
100%.
It doesn't just apply to small business. I think it applies to every level.
You know what this applies to, generally speaking, is the businesses who are replacing their lower entry level jobs with,
robots,
automatic scanners, robots. I walked into Walmart the other day, and I love Walmart. I've shopped with them for years, but I was very disappointed to see that almost every cashier was gone. There was one
at Target too.
Yeah, there was one available, but it was for over 18 and 21 purchases.
Well, you don't technically have to do that.
No, you don't, because now you can just scan it and one person walks over.
No, I mean, you don't have to have 18 plus items to go into that line.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
They might get a little like peeved.
It was super backed up. That's why I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was super backed up.
At Target, because the self-checkout is always, I used to work at Target too. So the self-checkout is what I used to run, and it'd always get backed up, and I'd always have to call for backup cashiers. Yeah. Because people want the ease of self-checkout, but they don't want to wait for it. Yeah. So they'll actually, honestly, I sold more red cards, like signed more people up for red cards when I was a backup cashier, because I saved them time from waiting in a line.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense.
So I think it depends on where you are, who you're around, but I also think that replacing people with robots is not helping anybody. What are you doing for those people? Are you just pushing them out on the street?
Well, it goes back to the psychological aspect too. Like, do I want to continue to use Walmart if I don't believe in their idealistic systems of what they're incorporating into their business? And the answer is no. I would be more likely to use a supermarket or an all-inclusive store that does have cashiers, because I believe in putting that money back into a working force, not into automatic scanners.
So there was a big thing in New York City a few years ago where they put automatic doors on nearly all of the buildings, right?
Oh, wow.
And in New York City, every building you go into, every apartment has a doorman, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what happened to those doormen? Some of them are still there.
Right.
Some of them still, some of them got moved to the desk. Some of them do other things. But like even the smallest thing as an automatic door, you lose, one, the human contact.
Right.
And two, sometimes those people, that human contact is what keeps them going, right? Like the greeters at Walmart, like the cute old people,
Right.
or the people who have special needs. Like it gives them a purpose. And I think that, like you had said, they're looking for their bottom line. They're looking for their profit. And I think we need to invest in people. We need to embrace the humanity.
Right.
Which I know is hard because it might not have your profit line, as high as it was.
Right.
But what are we losing in that process? What are we telling our clients psychologically, that these people don't matter? Are we telling them psychologically that, maybe
the profit is more important, or that the
profit's more important? Are you going to be out of job soon because we're going to replace you? You know, I mean,
and maybe we can talk about this on a different episode, just general AI and how we use AI, because we're advancing it in our company, but we use it to help you guys. Like I have no intention of replacing you guys just because I've created AI processes. Like my job for me is to make your job easier so that you can provide more work to our clients in a more efficient manner that just makes everybody's lives easier.
Yes.
So, if we had to reflect on the conversation today, what would you think that the key takeaways are from all of this?
Investing in people is not only good for your customers, but for your employees, for your branding. And I also think that color plays a role. I think that FOMO used correctly is a good thing, can be a good thing. But those are the three key things that I think I take away from today. What about you?
I think that I would take away from this conversation that psychology of how a company, a website, a brand works is incredibly important to consumer perspective. And we need to make sure that we're taking these things into account as business owners, not only to create a great, working environment or a great client environment, but to continually increase our profit. It is important to increase profit as a business in the right ways. And by doing this, you create more profitability so that you can, in my opinion, be able to give back more to people.
I would agree with that.
And that's the entire point of a business, in my opinion, is you're creating solutions for your consumers, you're creating solutions for your employees. And by creating those two things, they're creating solutions for their family, they're creating solutions for the people around them. So if that was my piece of wisdom in regards to this, is how are you creating solutions for other people so that they can create solutions?
How are you investing in your humanity?
Right. I love that. I love that line. Investing in humanity. I wish we could use that to some degree. That's just a beautiful thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really is. So yeah, I agree with you 110%. And, I'd love to hear what everyone else has to say too. I mean, you can always comment on our Spotify, comment on our YouTube. You can email us at digitaldualitysl@gmail.com. And next week, Skylar, you want to tell us what we're going to talk about?
Next week, we're going to talk about a content strategy, correct?
Ooh, yes. We're going to talk about content and how to create quality content and, boost that for your company in SEO and digital marketing and all that great stuff. So thank you guys so much for listening today. This is the Grasshopper.
And this is the Guru.